The Epstein files that came out today are making headlines. They're being spread all over social media. Here are some of the most viral files that I was able to find and compile to share with you guys. I just want to give you for warning here. Some of these claims and statements are files that are people being calling the FBI tip line and sharing information to the FBI tip line. So, not everything written in these files may be 100% accurate. That's just something I wanted to put out there as context. However, still, a lot of the statements are really shocking, and you can make the decision for yourself whether or not you believe it. So, this is the first document that is honestly making the most headlines right now. And it's somebody that reached out to the FBI tip line, like I said again. I'll just go ahead and start reading it. I might have to be cautious with my wording just to make sure I don't violate any YouTube guidelines. And it goes ahead and says, during Blank's time as a driver, he had met Donald Trump. I found it interesting they redacted a man's name there. Blank noted he picked up the president up in 1995 and took him to the DFW airport. Blank reported some of the things President Trump had spoken about during the ride. And I'll go towards the bottom. As Blank talked about his time meeting Donald Trump, Blank immediately blanked demeanor. He went stone cold as Blank stated, quote, he R'd me. Uh, it goes on and he replies, Donald Trump, J. Trump had R'd Blank her alongside with Jeffrey Epstein. It goes on later, and towards the end, it said, Blank advised Blank to call the police regarding the incident. As Blank stated, I can't, they will kill me. On Christmas Day, Blank contacted Blank, stated that she had in fact called the police about what they had talked about. And it goes on, and it says, Blank reached out to Blank stating someone was dead and noted she was found with her head blown off in Oklahoma. Officers on the scene stated there was no way it was a suicide. Coroner stated it was a suicide. And that's really it with this one that has the most shocking allegations. Now, I will say, because this was reported to the FBI tip line, I spent about 20 minutes doing this. I didn't go through the actual police reports at the time. So I think I should do a more deep dive into this and share it with you guys later. From what I found, I couldn't find anything during this time period in this city in Oklahoma, Kiefer, Oklahoma. I might be mispronouncing it, but I did look and I tried to find any sort of suicide at the time during that year. Couldn't find anything. However, maybe I just didn't look hard enough. So I'll let you guys know in a future video if I do find something to corroborate that story. So that's one of the most shocking documents that's genuinely just making so many headlines right now. Of course, the DOJ X account also made a post saying a lot of these have very exaggerated claims. Now, it's Trump's Department of Justice, of course. So we have to take all of this with a grain of salt. That, of course, Trump is going to try to make statements to, rid himself of guilt and make it seem like everything in here is absolutely fake. This was also during election time. Some of these tips were sent to the FBI. So we also don't know, could it be real? Could it not? At the same time, there's a lot of information here with Donald Trump's name related to it. And you can't assume that every single piece of information in all of these thousands and thousands of files are false. So what is also interesting, one of the most interesting parts about all of this, which is also being shared heavily right now, is that you might have remembered when Pam Bondi and Kash Patel stated that there were no co-conspirators in the entire Epstein files, in the entire Epstein saga, I guess, I don't know, for lack of a better word. Well, that is just blatantly false, because it was shown that there was actually email exchanges that were released today also showing that there were actually 10 co-conspirators. 10. Chuck Schumer actually made a post about this stating, who are these co-conspirators? We need to know. Let me go ahead and share my tab here so you guys can see this as well. In 2019, Trump's DOJ had a list of 10 Epstein co-conspirators. Who are these co-conspirators? Why haven't we seen those memos? Why aren't they where are the grand jury records? Where are the FBI records? What are they hiding? Tens of thousands of files released shed no light on who they are. So regardless of how you feel about Chuck Schumer, I really dislike the guy a lot. The files are there, and you don't need Chuck Schumer to give his commentary for you to look at the files. So here is here's the emails that Chuck Schumer is mentioning, and the to and from are both redacted, which is a bit irritating. But the subject is Epstein update. Of the 10 co-conspirators, 3 have been located in Florida and served GJ subpoenas. One in Boston, one in New York City, and one in Connecticut were located and served. 4 out of the 10 outstanding with attempts have been made. One is a wealthy businessman in Ohio. A lead is being sent to CV. The remaining 3 are currently out of pocket. It goes on and on and on. Good morning, blank is requesting an update on the 10 co-conspirators. Please let me know. Thank you. Crimes Against Children Human Trafficking Unit. So we know that were 10 co-conspirators. 10. And this is just and this is an email, so this is an actual back and forth exchange, so we can say that this is valid. This is not just being sent to the FBI tip line. This is an actual email exchange that's going back and forth, so we know that this to be true. This was an actual email. There does seem to be 10 co-conspirators. It does seem that this information was being tossed back and forth, and yet we didn't know about this. And yet we had no information on who these people are. Until today, we still don't know who these people are, except somebody does. People do out there, and we're not being informed about this. I was reading through one of the files, and I believe, and I'll have to pull it back up. Maybe I'll see it as I'm scrolling through all the bookmark tabs. I went through to make sure to find the actual original sources of every single document here that I'm sharing with you guys. And here's another document, and this is what I meant when I said the FBI tip line. If you see something like this where it says the details, Federal Bureau of Investigation, this was also sent through the FBI tip line. And in this one of the documents disclosed to the DOJ included an FBI tip about a party hosted by Donald Trump at Mar-a-Lago, which included women soliciting their body for, their body. So it goes on, and this document basically says exactly what I just stated, and it goes in detail. Towards the end, it says someone told the party that Donald Trump had invited them all to a party at Mar-a-Lago. Um, Blank wanted to go, but was told it wasn't that kind of party. It was a party for, you know, sex workers. Blank hasn't spoken since 2002. So again, this was somebody reported this to the tip line back in October 9th of 2020. So that's another pretty shocking document. Here's another one, and this is the exact same one I was talking about tomorrow regarding Mar-a-Lago. This was just a funny thing I wanted to share with you guys. I just thought it was funny, so I bookmarked it. Bill Clinton's office demands full transparency without Epstein files. Bill Clinton's office actually did put out a statement saying they want all of the documents released. Somebody somebody quote tweets that and says he's a PDF file kamikaze. I'm crying. Like kamikaze suicide bombers. But anyways, well, this is interesting. New unredacted Epstein files reveal a troubling detail around Christmas time. Donald Trump invited them all to the party that I previously talked to you guys about. So, and then this one is again another file accusing Trump of assaulting a victim who was later found dead with their head blown off. I'm going to make a video. I'm going to try to do as much of a deep dive into the police reports at the time in that city in Oklahoma to see if I can verify that. So far, from what I've seen and from what I've been searching on social media, nobody has been able to yet. So if that story is corroborated by an actual police report, then it changes the level of credibility it has to it gives it much more credibility. So we'll see. That's on pause right now. Let's just go ahead and say that. Here is another one. With this morning's release, it's clear that FBI Director Kash Patel committed perjury before the House. He claimed there was no evidence Epstein trafficked minors to others. The FBI's own emails point to at least 10 co-conspirators, including 6 who had served in the Epstein case in 2019. This is what I think is most shocking out of all of this, is that this is something that is factual. We have it in email. There were 10 co-conspirators. Kash Patel came out publicly and lied. He lied. And this is all coming out. I don't think anybody's asked him for a request for comment yet. He hasn't made any posts about it on social media. That there was a blatant lie here about additional co-conspirators, where he said that there weren't any. and Epstein wasn't trafficking anybody to children. That was just a straight up blatant lie. How is that? It opens up a lot more questions than anything else. And this one is also something that's making a lot of headlines like right now. A lot of people are talking about it. And one of the documents in the second batch of the Epstein files is a handwritten letter mailed to a fellow offender. Prison officials logged it in 2019 after Jeffrey Epstein's death. And it claimed that President Trump has a shared our love. Jeffrey Epstein is supposedly writing this for young women, for young girls. So again, this was logged after Jeffrey Epstein's death. However, Jeffrey Epstein could have wrote it and then it been logged after his passing, not necessarily meaning it's false. The DOJ also made a post about this, stating that they're going to be looking into the authenticity of this letter to verify it. I don't really trust anything the DOJ says, but that's what's being stated publicly right now. Let's see what's another thing that I saved here that I verified, again related to the 10 co-conspirators. This is one that it was really important, actually. I did want to share. One of the co-conspirators, and this is an actual verified email, and I did cross-check all of these with the actual release files. The subject here is co-conspirators, and it says one of them being, "I do not know about Ohio contacting Wexner." Les Wexner, which is the billionaire who basically bankrolled Jeffrey Epstein, the billionaire who also was heavily linked to Israeli intelligence, the billionaire who also created the study group back in the early 1990s. He was the co-founder of the study group. This was an elite club of the wealthiest billionaire Jewish elite in the United States. It was an exclusive club just for Jewish billionaires. Les Wexner was the founder, and very soon the study group was also known to be called the Mega Group. Very soon, the mega group started working with Israeli Mossad intel and started working with the government of Israel to push forward pro-Israel policy in the United States. Les Wexner with Jeffrey Epstein, they were working together, and Les Wexner's not only gave Jeffrey Epstein his money, but also gave Jeffrey Epstein much of his network. And through Les Wexner, Jeffrey Epstein was able to contact and build his network with many, many powerful, influential people. You might know Birthright for Israel, where any Jew anywhere in the world is able to get a free trip to Israel. Well, that's actually something that was created within the mega group. Birthright for Israel was concocted within the mega group back in the early 90s. A few very, very wealthy Jewish billionaires wanted to figure out how to strengthen U.S. Jewish American support for Israel. And they're like, well, why don't we offer free trips to Israel for any young Jewish person in the United States or anywhere in the world? And that's how Birthright was formed. And I believe it was Charles Seagram was one of the individual backers of this, and they went ahead and created Birthright for Israel, and that was concocted within the mega group that was formed in the early 1990s, I believe 1991. So Les Wexner's ties to Jeffrey Epstein are huge. I'm going to go ahead and make sure to tag the video here. I made a whole previous video on the mega group. There are so many scandals related to that. It deserves a video of its own. Seeing Les Wexner here as a co-conspirator is really helps lend a lot of credibility to the fact that, was there an Israeli Mossad connection? Of course there was. I think we all know that. But now seeing his name specifically shows, okay, not only do we know that there was an Israeli Mossad connection, but exactly how did that network lay out on paper? What was the actual connection like? Who were the Israeli Mossad working with? What did it actually look like on the ground, if that makes sense? And who was it through? And if we know that Les Wexner was a co-conspirator, and Les Wexner stated back in 2019 multiple times he had no idea, apparently, no idea what Jeffrey Epstein was up to. That is a straight up lie, it seems, based on some of these documents. He did have an idea. Not only did he have an idea, but he was very heavily involved in what was going on. Potentially for what? For a blackmail operation? That's what it seems like, for a blackmail operation of powerful elite. Did this have anything also to do with the mega group itself? Not only did Jeffrey Epstein use his connections, but was there a more nefarious purpose for the mega group that specifically involved what Jeffrey Epstein was up to benefit the states, to benefit the interests of a foreign country? Now, we of course have our own beliefs about this, and if you've been following my channel, you know how I feel about this. But the more we have on paper to lend credibility to this, to build a much stronger hypothesis, is uh is going to lend credence to those that are less aware of everything that's happening in the United States when it comes to Israel's influence in this country. So this was pretty shocking to me, and it lends it should make you intrigued to look further into the Les Wexner Association and all of this. Alrighty, so let's see what else I had bookmarked here that I wanted to share with you guys. Trump flew on Epstein's plane at least 8 times between 1993 to 1996. Again, everything I bookmarked here on X was just so I can show you quickly, but I did verify every single document that I did have bookmarked here. I've already showed you guys this one here. In an email exchange with Ghislaine Maxwell sent from an address labeled as, quote, Invisible Man, titled Summer Camp from August of 2001, an individual only referred to as A, likely Prince Andrew, talks about being at the Balmoral summer camp for the royal family, and he asked Maxwell for, quote, new inappropriate friends in Los Angeles. So this is supposedly Prince Andrew. Regardless, what we know for sure is it's coming from somebody called, quote, the Invisible Man, and it's this is an email, so this was an actual email that was sent asking Ghislaine Maxwell if she had new if she had new inappropriate friends for him. Okay, so that this in of itself, this one email that Kash Patel should have had access to, destroys the entire narrative that there was no trafficking. But because now we have an email of somebody asking Ghislaine Maxwell for, quote, new inappropriate friends. We know that there, of course, there was trafficking going on, and Kash Patel knew as well, and he hid that. He just straight up lied under oath. He just straight up lied. I think that's what's so wild is the gall this man had to just straight up lie like that. You can't trust anything coming out of his mouth. Nothing at all. So, um, how's LA? Have you found me some new inappropriate friends? Let me know when you are coming over as I am free. Yada yada yada. Any ideas? Grateful received. Sia A. So that's pretty shocking. Why are the names of the Epstein co-conspirators redacted? Subject co-conspirators. Blank does not need to head out. We made contact with blank last night in New York. Contact was made with blank, blank, and blank. So again, when you get a chance, can you give me an update on the status of the 10 co-conspirators? Do we need blank to head out on blank? And it was sent by redacted name, FBI New York. So there's a lot of names here that also shouldn't be redacted. And I bet you one of the reasons, well, of course, because it immediately puts them in, it immediately means that they were involved in a horrible illegal trafficking scheme. But aside from that, because their connections are also going to shed light on a lot, I really think if I have no trust in the government whatsoever. I don't think any of us should at this point. If any more documents do come out that are going to elaborate on who these 10 were, which I think it's going to take a we'll see. We'll see what happens. I think there will be an Israeli connection that we're going to see within these 10 people, or their network is going to be directly linked to Israel. That is just that's my theory. We'll see if that to be true. If one of them is Lex Wexner, absolutely. And I also think that a lot of these names are going to be names that were part of the mega group that Les Wexner started back in 1999. I think this is going to be a lot more tied to the mega group than most of us would have previously thought about. And I think this is, again, I'm putting this out there. We're going to see if I'm right. I think over the next few months, people are going to start learning about what the mega group was. If you haven't learned about the mega group, make sure to click one of my videos here. I really do believe that this is going to open the door now for people to start making connections to Jeffrey Epstein, the Israeli Mossad, and the mega group, which facilitated this network for Jeffrey Epstein to meet powerful elite, blackmail them, and extort young American girls. So if you found this video interesting, go ahead and click the subscribe button below and give it a thumbs up as well. Also, it really helps my channel if you share this with some friends. Helps me boost higher up on the algorithm. Otherwise, I'll see you guys